Services like Uber and Lyft have changed the way we get around, but what happens when there's an accident? We're seeing more and more rideshare related injury cases, and with that, a lot of confusion. So joining us today is personal injury attorney Stephen Sinas to break down what we all need to know. Stephen, always great to have you here.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, so let's start with the biggest question that we're all having. Who is liable when a rideshare crash happens? Is it the driver, the company, or someone else entirely?
So when these companies first came around, there was a lot of legal uncertainty about who could be held liable. And actually, long story short, here in Michigan, we passed something known as the Transportation Network Company Act, and that is the statute that now governs how Uber and Lyft operate here in Michigan. So there's a whole lot to say about that act. But to suffice it to say that when you have a crash involving an Uber, ordinary principles of negligence apply. So you're looking at who used reasonable care, who didn't. If there was another car involved, then possibly that car is at fault. But for the passenger, they're just sitting there in the car. So they're not going to be at fault. So the issue is, was the driver at fault? And then if the driver's at fault, then how can you pursue recovery as an injured person if you're injured in one of these vehicles? And the Transportation Network Act has a whole lot more to say about that.
Oh, I'm sure. But what about insurance coverage? Do Uber or Lyft cover passengers or drivers who are hurt?
Well, actually, under the Act, it requires Uber and Lyft to carry a certain amount of insurance coverage. And if you are injured while a ride is taking place, the insurance coverage has to be $1 million of liability insurance coverage to apply to your injury. If you're somebody who's injured by an Uber or Lyft driver while they're not in the process of providing a ride, but they are on the app and actually looking for a ride, then there's a different amount of insurance coverage. So it drops down to $100,000. And ultimately, this issue of when the accident took place is really pivotal to insurance coverage.
So if someone is injured in a rideshare accident, whether they're the driver, the passenger, or even in another vehicle, what should they do right away?
Well, like in any accident scenario, you want to make sure that you're taking down information of what happened, taking photos of the scene, trying to get your own medical attention if you need it, right? Making sure you know who's involved, making sure you know in terms of these rides what time the crash occurred so you can show that it occurred during the ride, because it makes such a difference in insurance coverage. So you want to collect information, you want to focus on your recovery, and ultimately getting a lawyer makes a lot of sense because there are complexities. You also need to consider your no-fault benefit rights that you have under the Michigan No-Fault Act. So there's a whole lot more you have to consider legally, but you take care of yourself, collect information, and go from there.
Awesome. Well, thank you really for breaking down something that could be very confusing. We really, really appreciate it. And hopefully, obviously, we don't get into these situations, but now we kind of know what to do. So thank you so much for all that great advice and for walking through all of that with us. But for more information, of course, about sinus streamus, you can find that out at the bottom of your screen. But thank you.
Thank you very much.